You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
In the context of television in India, three letters, TRP, has gained a rather dubious reputation over the years. Television rating points, or TRP, is often synonymous with a compromise in the quality of television content. However, since Mumbai Police's press conference, which named Republic TV as having tampered with the TRP measurement system, the news exploded and touched a raw nerve among all news channels. As the nation wanted to know what exactly the whole controversy was, primetime debates across channels had a variety of answers. A scam, scandal, dhokha, cheating, saazish, fraud, racket, chori, and vishwaasghaat. However, while Republic TV's CFO S. Sundaram skipped a summon by the police on Saturday, citing a pending petition before the Supreme Court, news channels have framed this as an issue of one bad apple ruining the basket. However, is that the case? Media veterans explain why this is a much deeper issue pertaining to the entire news industry with political, social, and economic implications. You're tuned into The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline making news for you, and I'm your host, Sushovan. Now, this might be the first time that the police have taken up the issue, but this isn't the first time that TRP rigging has come up. Ashutosh, veteran television journalist and former managing editor of IBN7, says he was suspicious of this over a decade ago.
See, I had been doubtful about the entire TRP rigging for a very, very long time. In fact, when I was there in IBN7, once I thought and discussed with my team that there is a rigging in the TRP ratings. So can we do a sting operation? So we had many meetings and discussed about it. But that's almost 10, 12 years back. So I was not surprised when the Mumbai Police Commissioner held a press conference and talked about it. I was certainly not surprised. Rather, I thought I felt vindicated. Whatever I used to think and whatever I used to say, I proved right. And in fact, I've been one who has been demanding for the last more than 10 years that this TRP system should be scrapped. And the news channel should not be judged on the basis of about the numbers. That if a TV channel is climbing on the charts, so you believe that TV channel is more popular or more liked than other channels.
Before exploring the dimensions of the controversy, a quick primer on TRPs and how TV viewership data is collected. First, the Broadcast Audience Research Council of India, or BARC India, has installed its rating meters in 44,000 homes across India. This covers about 1.87 lakh individuals. Second, the meters record the viewership patterns of each member of the household and then transmit it to BARC's servers. This continuous survey is used to project the viewership pattern of some 197 million TV-owning homes in India, which have a total of 836 million individuals. Now, if TRP rigging isn't exactly a recent phenomenon, the next question is, just how important are TRPs to news channels? Anindya Chakraborty, former senior managing editor of NDTV India and NDTV Profit, breaks it down and explains how it primarily matters for advertisers.
So it is if one looks at most smaller channels, like the leading channels have a bit of subscription revenue, but their costs are much higher. I would say that anywhere between 95% for smaller channels and at least 70% for larger channels, the revenue comes from advertising. Advertisers advertise on the basis of two things. One is brand. So let's say a brand which is well known, right? Like let's say at Times of India. Even if Times of India didn't have a circulation, advertisers would put their money there because it's a well-known brand. Or I would, I'm bring up the name of NDTV where I used to work for a long time. NDTV, despite having low ratings, had a decent revenue because of its brand strength. So I won't say that advertisers only advertise on the basis of rating, but ratings is the significant driver of advertising revenue. And I'll tell you why. Because advertisers generally place ads through agencies which aggregate advertising, right? So let's say there are 10 ad agencies, there are 20 companies. There'll be two what are called media buying houses, right? They take advertising and then they plan how to place it in channels. So a media buying house then places that ad across a lot of channels. By buying, it means that they're buying ad space on channels during their breaks.
Ashutosh too weighs in on the same aspect of TRP-driven news. As a journalist, Ashutosh says TRP is the real devil in the game. Why is it so, and how is it impacting the quality of news reporting?
See, in my opinion, the TRP is the real devil in the game. Real devil in the game in the sense because any news channel which is slightly higher in the list, higher in the chart, there is a belief that that channel is doing very well. In my opinion, the quality of the editorial content should not be judged on the basis of the numbers and the ratings. The quality of journalism should be judged on the basis of stories you do, the impact you make, the issues you take up, and how much trust you have. And I always talk about it like Indian Express, it sells very little in Delhi. But it's a fantastically, I think, the world-class newspaper which comes up. So if we go by the numbers, then obviously Indian Express will not fare anywhere. Other newspapers are far ahead. So that the similar thing should be applied in the television industries also. And I believe that quality of a TV channel should not be judged on the basis of ratings. And that is why I have been advocating for a very long time, this rating system should be scrapped. If you want to have a rating system, please have a rating system for the entertainment, not for the news. Because news is not entertainment. In fact, when you have TRP, then news becomes an entertainment.
But in focusing on Republic TV and Arnab Goswami's brand of journalism, two questions arise. What about the FIR which names other channels like India Today? And second, is the TRP issue just related to Republic, as news channels are portraying it to be? Abhinandan Sekri, co-founder of News Laundry, says he found a curious irony in the way this news was covered in the media, especially in relation to how other police investigations have been reported by the media.
I think anything the police does could have been tackled better. So this is not unique. What I do think is ironic is that channels that in the past, not even based on naming an FIR, one, the police claims that so-and-so took so-and-so's name during interrogation, and all these channels say, Sala, guilty, based on nothing. And I think those are shoddy investigations. I have no reason to believe this investigation is any better or any worse than the way police has been investigating on purely partisan lines in our country for the longest time. However, what is ironic is the very same channels, and both the channels involved have in the past taken up cases during, in Delhi or other police. They have taken the police's word or some name in the FIR or something that has been uttered by one of the accused, that he named 5 people. Oh, all these 5 terrorists, urban Naxal, ye hai, wo hai. Their anchors have been jumping somersaults based on far less than this. So now on this, I'm just curious to see how they react. My view on the police has been consistent. I do not take anything the police says at face value. I think they have demonstrated shoddy investigation and partisan investigations for the longest time. I just find it funny that channels that were the cheerleaders of shoddy investigations in the past now seem to be very wary of shoddy investigations when it comes to them. And I'm not saying it's shoddy or not, but it's as good or bad as the police has always been. And if that was good enough for you earlier, well, it should be good enough for you now.
But nonetheless, could this preliminary investigation have been better handled by the Mumbai Police? Aninda Chakravarti says that to do a press conference without significant investigation has indeed left holes unplugged.
The point is that this is not new. It's an open secret. There is enough information out there for the Mumbai Police to know that this happens. And when this happens, is it a criminal offense? That's the question to first ask, right? Because ultimately, BARC is a private survey agency. It's giving you some data. It's up to the people who use it to believe it or not believe it. It doesn't make any difference to anything. Right? So the Mumbai Police is saying that by manipulating it, you are tricking people into giving you money. As in, you're saying that, okay, I have high ratings, so therefore you're telling an advertiser, I have high ratings, so therefore you should pay me money. They've also raised some questions about, is this crime money and stuff like that? So, I mean, to do a press conference without a significant amount of information is obviously, it doesn't pass the smell test, if one would say that, right? I would say it smells fishy, but it doesn't pass the smell test.
If one were to explore TRP's powers a step further, a question that arises then is one that many in India have discussed many a times in their living room conversations. Can TRP also affect the news agenda then? A recent example would be the Sushant Singh Rajput Riya Chakravarti coverage. Was it driven by TRPs or by its newsworthiness? Ashutosh explains how the Sushant Singh Rajput coverage came at the cost of many other important stories that got buried.
The issue here is that one particular channel, in order to gain eyeballs, and eyeballs is directly proportional to the revenue, tried to manipulate the system and tried to prove that they are the number one. And they are number one because they are carrying a certain kind of a story. Since they are carrying certain kind of a story, it became a benchmark for the last 2.5 months. And everybody was supposed to follow that story. And then what happened? That story, which was a non-story to begin with, non-story in the sense it was a story, but not such a big story that everybody is following and there is a carpet coverage. That story became the story and everybody started following that story. And then what happened? The 3 unprecedented crises, which should have been discussed threadbare, like China capturing Indian space, like the economy going down in the negative 23.9%, and the corona, the biggest health crisis this country has faced since independence, became a non-entity. And 2.5 months, the coverage was all along Sushant Singh Rajput and Riya Chakravarti. So, in a way, this manipulation of the TRP led to a kind of to create a narrative and to not discuss issues which should have been discussed. That is anti-democratic. That is the very dangerous thing. Because who are the people who are responsible for this crisis? Nobody talked about it. Everybody was talking about Sushant Singh Rajput. That is why I say this is not only about the TRP race, but this is also a kind of setting a false narrative and setting a false debate system in the country.
So, if TRPs can be gamed, is it fair to assert that the TRP is a flawed model then? And if it is, are there any alternative ways forward that are more fair and equitable to the people who consume news?
Way that metric is being measured is wrong. And just so your audience knows, why it is more dodgy in the case of news and not in the case of entertainment channels is because entertainment channels, you'll have to fix a lot of people meters. For example, if BARC says we have 40,000 people meters right now, about less than 2% of the country watches news, right? So if I want to fix my news audience, out of the 30,000, less than 2%, in that 2%, English news is even smaller. So I can fix 10 odd meters, even less than that, and I can fix the whole metric for everybody. You can't do that for entertainment channels. So therefore, entertainment channels, because you have to fix thousands and thousands of meters, which is not possible to really do, practically. So for that, while it may be kind of flawed, it's not hugely wrong. In the case of news, it is hugely flawed. Now, what is measurable is only wrong because of this fixing. And like I said, it's not happened now. 2018, there was a case on record. It's part of the article if you read on newslaundry.com. 2016, it's happened. It's happened before BARC, TAM became BARC. During TAM's time, it happened. So that metric is wrong. And because that is your metric, people also want to do tamasha and want to become entertainment channels. So it kind of, it shows the flaws at many levels. So I think this is a fantastic time for, digital outfits like Quint and us to figure out when the public pays, then the public will be served. Because that is the way news can survive. News is not going to survive if we leave it to broadcast channels. They are going to run it to the ground because of fixing and because of even if it wasn't fixed, a flawed model of news.
If you like listening to this podcast, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and other platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out our podcast section. For any feedback, send an email to podcasts@thequint.com.